A secret report within the Guild. 4 planets have come to our attention regarding a plot which could jeopardize spice production. Planet Arrakis, source of the spice. Planet Caladan, home of House Atreides. Planet Edie Prime, home of House Harkonnen. Planet Kaitane, home of the Emperor of the known universe. Send a 3rd stage Guild navigator to Kaitane to demand details from the Emperor. The spice must flow.
Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome in once again. And yes, I do believe that this will be my favorite flipper of the year 2023. And it's for a number of reasons. One, which is the obvious. This is my Caladan. This is my design made by Tuya Knives. The first folder that I have been able to get out and make into a production knife. So yes, I'm going to pat myself on the back and say, hey, good job. And yeah, that's certainly going to make it one of my favorites. But the other thing is it hits on every point that you hear me go over year after year, video after video, knife after knife. But there are certain things that have to be done a certain way to make me ultimately happy with the knife that's in front of me. And this knife encompasses everything. It's got fantastic fit and finish, incredible detent, incredibly smooth and rocket-fast action, great ergonomics, and a couple little details that may be hidden from view as you first take a look over this multitude of knives sitting in front of you. Now, what I really wanted to do with this was offer a lot of different options for a lot of different people, and I also wanted to spread the pricing out as much as I could. So while this is a bolster lock knife, I did offer a plain titanium frame lock variation just so that we could have a significantly more affordable version, because that little guy right there, that's only $250. Now, when I began this quest, I kind of figured that everything I was going to do was going to be $400 and up. And I think that's what most people expected. And that's generally what you're going to pay for a higher end production made folder with premium materials. But instead, we're looking at $250, $255, and $285 being the 3 pricing tiers. And I'm going to break those all down for you so you can see which ones are which. Now, the way that you can purchase these, there are 2 different ways. You can either purchase them directly through me, which you can contact me through Instagram, you can contact me through Facebook, you can contact me even via email, and I can set you up, because this is not a pre-order. Everything that you see here is ready to ship right now. These are not prototypes. These are the final production knives. So there's no wait. It's whenever you pay for it, it gets processed, it gets packaged up, it gets shipped. I've already done quality control on all of the ones that I have, and everything's fantastic and ready to go. The other way that you can purchase these, my good friend Dave Warren, who is the U.S. distributor for Tuya Knives and is also their customer service, or excuse me, their warranty service, he's going to have them available on his website as well, which is TuyaKnivesUS.com. And as soon as I get all the pictures over to him that I just did of these new variations that just arrived today, then he'll have them uploaded and ready to go on the website. So yes, this is easily my favorite flipper of the year. The Caledon is based off of my Exorcist fixed blade model that I've been making now for about 2 years. It's a spear point. It's more of a tactical style design. Now, while I've had several projects in the works going back as many as 4 years, this one has been a little over a year in the works. Tuya has been absolutely amazing to deal with, and it was my friend Dave Warren, that turned me on to them. It was funny because a couple of years ago, he was like, hey, have you ever heard of Tuya knives? I'm like, I think I've seen the name, but I really don't know anything about them. I've never owned one of their knives. He goes, let me send a couple out to you and let you check them out and see what you think of them. And he sent me a Hive 2 and a Kingsman. And as soon as I opened those boxes, I went, wow, these are really, really nice. I'm sad that I didn't really have any awareness of the brand before this. And then I saw the prices, how low, how crazy low the prices were. And I went, holy shit, what the hell's going on here? Because if those two knives had been made by anybody else, Riot, Wee Knives, Reich Knives, anybody, they would have been probably around the $350 to $400 mark. And these were both well under $300. So at the time, I happened to be looking into different OEMs, different manufacturers that could make some production versions of my folder designs. And I went, wow, not only are these things really, really nicely made, but they're also very low priced. It would be great if I could go out there with a knife in this price range in my design. I don't think it's possible, but we'll see. And I asked him to hook me up with Tuya knives, which he did very, very quickly. So from that day forward, I was dealing with Kevin, the owner of Tuya Knives, and he has been such a wonderfully supportive person. He was excited from the get-go about the designs that I submitted to him, this being one of them. And he's like, yeah, let's do this, man. This will be great. So we are co-branding this so that it has my maker's mark on it and the Tuya Knives logo, because this really is essentially a partnership that we have done on this production. It wasn't simply designer working with factory and then Tuya just coming out and making this just a Tuya knife. This is a Tuya and Skelton Blade Works knife, and so far so good, man. I could not be happier. Like I said, I've QC'd all the knives that are in my possession. The rest are with Dave, and he's doing the QC on those. And I have not come across a single issue. Every knife locks up beautifully. Every blade is centered beautifully. The actions are fantastic. The detents are perfect. The finish work, that hand rub satin especially. See if I can get a good shot of this. I mean, take a good look at that hand rub satin. Look how gorgeous that is. Now, in the beginning, I had planned on just having hand rub satin flats with vertical belt satin on the bevels, and it just came out to be way nicer with a full hand rub. Now, the only version here that does not have a full hand rub blade is going to be the titanium frame lock. This knife, 100%, everything is bead blasted except for the hardware. So all the titanium and the steel blade is all done in the bead blasted finish. For those curious why I chose S90V instead of M390, it's kind of funny because I actually love M390. It is, forget what everybody else says, the fact of the matter is M390 is one of the highest performing steels that you can use for knives. They have great edge retention, they have great corrosion resistance, they're resistant to chipping at the edge. It's an amazing all-around steel for an EDC knife. The problem is, everybody and their brother has released a knife in M390, so people tend to think, it's not all that great. I've been seeing M390 on 100 different knives a year for the past 5 years, and I'm just tired of hearing it. That's the only reason I didn't go with it. I love S90V. The problem with S90V is while it holds an edge for an extremely long time, it's not as easy to resharpen on your own as M390 is. So it's a little bit less user serviceable, but for the end user, the edge will last longer. So there's that trade-off. So if that was your question, there's your answer. I love M390. I just didn't want to have the same specs as everybody else. Titanium, carbon fiber, M390, boom. It just didn't sound right. I really wanted this to be special, especially being the first of many production knives I'm going to be coming out with. I really wanted this one to be like, wow, that is different. So some of the design details that help this knife stand out, among others, I'm going to try to bring out a few different variants here so that you get a chance to see all the different inlays and whatnot. One is the fact that the bolster area, I'm still trying to get all the oil off of these. Because when they're shipped overseas or from overseas, they put a ton of oil in on every knife so that there's no corrosion issues, all that kind of good stuff. So anyway, one of the big design aspects was having the flipper tab completely hidden when the blade was opened by the bolster. Another thing is a very large cutaway access to the lock bar, and the lock bar has a nice bit of jimping in there, or patterning, machine patterning, so that you don't have to worry about traction there. Your thumb is not going to slide off. It's going to work really, really well. The jimping on the spine of the blade is done really well, and the jimping on the flipper tab is also nice and bitey, so your finger's not going to slide off of there. Couple more things that I really wanted to do was a flat pivot. The flat pivots that I've seen some other companies do over the past couple of years, I've always pointed them out because I really like having a flat pivot versus a pivot that's very, very proud of the frame. I like that low profile look and feel. Another thing that I felt was important was getting the right pocket clip design, where you've got good tension. Notice that you're tapping it and not hearing anything, but you're not having to pry it open, and it's also contoured to match the frame, by the way, so there's no hot spots when you're holding the knife. You'll know a pocket clip is there. Know the pocket clip is there, but it doesn't create any hot spots because everything is rounded and nicely contoured. So it looks good and it feels good. It slides into a jean pocket very easily, slides out just how you would want it to, but it's got nice tension so it holds it in perfectly. Let's see, what other design aspects did I want to point out? Oh, this was really cool. This is the backspacer. It's a 1/3 backspacer. And I had relayed to Kevin that I wanted to do a hidden lanyard opening at some point in the backspacer, but I hadn't gotten that far when I submitted everything to him. And he surprised me by designing this himself, and I didn't even know about it until I got my prototype and went, oh my God, that's fantastic. So I love the fact that he knew where I was going with all this, and he picked up on that, and he did this on his own, and it looks really good. It's low profile. It falls right in line with the design of the knife. There's no big hole sticking through the entire knife. There's no post going across. It's just nice and simple. If you like to use a lanyard, it's going to be easy to do. If you don't like lanyards, it's not an eyesore. It's just not detracting away from the look of the knife. Okay, what else do I want to discuss on these? Let's talk about some of the variations. All right, let's start lowest price first. At $250, you have the jigged titanium. So this kind of gives you the look of a more of a classic kind of pocket knife. For those of you that like traditionals, this is going to certainly excite you. And it's got a faux bolster milled in, one single line. Feels really, really nice in the hand. And you can hear that detent break and that lockup. Just fantastic. That's a sharp looking knife. On the next tier at $255 is the standard 3K carbon fiber. So this is just your standard kind of 2x2 pattern. And then again, the entire frame is contoured. So that's going to give you these radial, I don't want to say prints, this radial pattern because it's been contoured. It's not flat. Oops, sorry about that. Didn't mean to almost knock the camera over. So that's the standard 3K carbon fiber. Then we have marbled carbon fiber, which is always a popular choice. I'm a big fan of marble carbon fiber. They did such a fantastic job on every single component. The way everything fits together beautifully. And I really wanted to have curved bolsters on this. And that was not the easiest thing to do. It adds expense instead of just having, you know, a straight across bolster where you have a flat end cut on the carbon fiber and then a flat cut on the titanium. It's mated together on a radius. It looks really, really good. They did a fantastic job. Very nicely done there. Okay, and the last in the 250... I'm sorry, this is the 250. These are 255. Another, yeah, I'm sorry, this is 255 also. My brain just isn't working. The orange G10. I have always loved the look of bead-blasted titanium up against bright, vivid, crazy orange G10. I don't know what it is about that gray and orange look that I really like. It's just a really cool EDC look that to me almost shouts work knife. And I'm just going to knock my camera all over the place today, apparently. Trying to clean the oil off the blade again. So there it is. There are the selections at 255. Now at 285, we're going to step things up just a little bit. Move these out of the way. And that takes us into the aluminum infused carbon fiber. So there's actually the silver that you're seeing there is actually aluminum. So that gives a really highly reflective look. And then you've still got a beautiful pattern of carbon fiber in there as well, which if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it is. It's a unidirectional carbon fiber that has the aluminum in there. And this always looks good with the hand rub satin blade. I think that's pretty darn handsome. Now, if you like that look, but you want a bit more of a pop of color, this is the same exact material, except it's infused with copper instead of aluminum. So that is the copper infused carbon fiber. I've owned a couple of knives with this particular material, and I always thought it looked really, really sharp. The last one I got was my Devo Knives Stout, and it had these scales on there originally. I just changed them out to Sunset Orange, but I really love how this looks. The copper and the silver both just scream in the sunlight. It's almost like a line of mirrors when you move that thing around in the sunlight. And two more at the 285 price point. This one I had mistakenly listed when I was first talking about these as fat carbon purple haze, and it's not. I apologize. It is purple camo carbon. Different company, slightly different look to the carbon fiber. Finish is the same, pretty much looks the same. It's just a little bit more color in the camo carbon than would be in the purple haze. generally speaking anyway. And there that is. Whew. Boy, I love the action on these things. They sound as good as they feel. A little bit of oil on my fingertip there. All right, and the last at $285 is actually my number one favorite, and that is the what's being called silver carbon fiber. It's actually silver texalium, which is a it's basically made in the same way that carbon fiber is, except that the material inside, instead of being black, is silver. It's still being pressed together with epoxy in the same way that carbon fiber is. It's supposedly about as strong, not that you have to worry about tensile strength, seeing as how this is just a scale over titanium. It's already supported. But it's extraordinarily lightweight. It's very, very strong. And I just love the silver pattern to it. I think it looks great. The few knives that I've had in texalium, I have absolutely loved. And I think that is a sexy, sexy combination. All right, so those are your 4 variations that are in at $285. And that's it. So it's $250, $255, and $285. And that covers everything. You get your warranty and service and everything through Dave Warren here in the United States. All right, for those curious about the name Kaladin and where that comes from, a lot of you probably already know because you might be fans as well, but I am a fan of Dune, the original movie from, 1984? And I've liked Dune most of my adult life. I was actually turned on to it in my mid-20s. And I was like, man, I don't want to sit through this. I've heard it was slow and boring and just plain weird, and I have no interest. And the person that was introducing me to it was like, no, you just got to sit down and pay attention to it, and you'll enjoy it. And he was right. I did. And I fell in love with it from that moment forward. I even like the new remake. I think the new remake, they did a great job. I was super worried about it when they made the announcement that they were going to be remaking it. I'm like, man, you're going to screw with a classic? What in the world is wrong with you? But no, they actually did a damn good job. Get the oil off of there again. Oh, yeah. They just feel so good. That was another big thing for me is the ergonomics. I really wanted to have something that had kind of an organic flow to it. I didn't want to go with a straight body and go with totally neutral ergonomics. This is kind of like a soft neutral. So it does have some curves to it to give it some sexy lines. But if you've got an enormous hand or a tiny hand, it's not forcing you into any position that's uncomfortable. So if you have a giant hand, it's not cramping your hand and forcing you up into a position where you're not comfortable. And if you've got a small hand, you can spread out nicely and your pinky's going to drop into this area and it's just going to feel great. That was a really, really big deal. And I wanted the shape of the blade to just drop off and then disappear at the tip. So that was why it was designed in the manner that it was. And I couldn't be happier. I mean, Tuya knocked it out of the park. They nailed everything. So a lot of people may ask, well, why did you go with a Chinese company instead of having a US OEM manufacture it? And there are actually a couple of really good reasons for that, and it's something that I did think about. Because sure, it's great to be able to say, hey, this was all American made and this and this and that. But here's the problem. If I had manufactured these in the US, they would have been far in excess of $400. And when you start getting close to $500, what's the one thing everybody comments in the comment section down below? Well, for that much money, I might as well just buy a custom. And you would be absolutely correct by saying that. And I didn't want to deal with a defective rate that is often in excess of 30%. Like I said, when I opened up these knives today, everything was great. There were no loose screws in the box. Nothing had fallen out. There weren't any wonky blades. There weren't any detents that were too light or too strong. They didn't have any rust or corrosion. They were just perfect out of the box. Now, if you order and you do, bulk manufacturing like this, and then you get a bunch of knives where the components are not matched well, you don't have flat and true parts, and next thing you know, the blade won't center, or it starts to bind up when it gets, 3/4 of the way open, then the action slows down and it doesn't want to flip properly, or it feels gritty or nasty, or the pivot won't stay tight. These are things that I've seen a lot of my friends go through as they were using US OEMs. And some of them losing thousands of dollars with basically having big giant cardboard boxes filled with various parts that didn't fit together to build even one knife. They could have 30 knives worth of parts and they couldn't match up any of them to make one single knife where things lined up properly. It was terrible. And that's not the way it should be. And almost always the US OEMs are either going to blow the deadline by weeks or months, or they're going to get done and go, you know what, it's going to be 20% more expensive for some odd reason that you can't fathom as you're reading the email from them. These are all experiences that I have witnessed some of my knife maker friends go through. Number one, I don't have the patience for that. Number two, this is a business and it needs to be profitable. And I can't open up a box and pull, 30, 40, 50 knives out of there that don't lock up properly or have horrendous lock stick or wonky blades or loose detents. I don't want to deal with any of that. I want these knives to be as perfect as they possibly can be given the price point and make everybody as happy as possible. I cannot wait for people to start getting these knives in their hands. I've already shipped a few of them today, and I'm so excited to hear the feedback. I'm going to be sending a few out to YouTube reviewers and get some feedback from them as well as their audience, which a lot of times our audiences cross over, but sometimes they don't. There are some people that prefer to watch one reviewer and not another, may prefer to watch me and not another, may prefer them and absolutely hate me. So I think I'm going to be able to get a lot of good feedback all the way around, and that's important to me. Oh, love fidgeting with these things. Now, that's actually a point that I meant to get to. You might be wondering, why isn't this a crazy fidget monster that has 3, 4, 5 methods of deployment? Here's the reason why. Because I just started getting into knives like that in the past year. The EMP EDC Nimble was really the one that turned my head the most. And then the Brown Knives FSD and some other really amazing knives where you can flip it, you can flick it, reverse flick it, you can flick it with your thumb. And I've really come to appreciate that. And I am designing some knives that will have more methods as well. But back when I designed this, I was a flipper-only guy for pretty much everything. And my focus was on making the action, the detent, everything on this as perfect as possible for flipping. And I wasn't going to sacrifice my vision. I wasn't going to change the height of the blade so that I could add a fuller. I didn't want to change how the blade looked closed by adding a fuller or a thumb disc or something else to access it from back here. I was perfectly fine just leaving it as a flipper. So I hope that you guys really enjoy or still enjoy flipper-only knives, because that's what this one is. There will never be a time that you're going to see my maker's mark on a knife that has a front flipper. I cannot stand front flippers. It's a personal thing. And at the end of the day, not only does every paying customer have to be excited and enjoy this knife, but I have to as well. I have to be able to stand up and honestly say that I carry my own knives because I absolutely love it. Because I'm not going to stop carrying other knives. At the end of the day, I'm always going to be a knife lover and a knife collector. And I also like to support my friends when they make really excellent knives. I'm going to carry those. So to bump this out of my pocket, it's got to be something amazing. My favorite variations, I really do love the copper, but my number one favorite is the silver Texalium, followed by the purple carbon fiber, and then the orange G10. Those are my three top favorites, and those are the ones that I'll be carrying the most. I'll probably carry the silver twill more than anything else. There's just something so crisp and so clean about having that bright silver twill. It looks so, so good. And yeah, man, I really dig that orange. Definitely nothing fancy about orange. I just think it looks good. It's weird to say it, but it kind of looks sporty. I mean, there's no such thing as a sporty looking knife, but I don't know. I mean, because I guess you could kind of look at the silver twill as maybe a little bit dressier, and this would be the opposite of that. So what's the opposite of dressy? Casual or sporty. So this is the sportier version, I suppose. Really enjoy how that looks. Gray and orange, I've always thought look good together. And I think a lot of people are going to really be happy with the frame lock as well. Not just because they're saving money, but because that all bead blasted finish looks great as well. Now, I've already had a request from somebody who wanted, I forget which version they wanted to buy, but they didn't want the hand rub blade. They wanted the bead blasted blade. So I'm already going to be doing a blade swap for somebody. And I was thinking about maybe on my own carry knife, I might put a bead blasted blade in the orange, because that I think would look really, really good. Anyway, that's the introduction to the Kaladin. There will be other folders coming soon. I have at least 3 more projects with Tuya knives over the next year or two, and I'm excited about each and every one of them because they're all very, very different from each other and very, very different from this. And I have a Riot-made product coming out very shortly. I'm hoping maybe by early summer of 2023. Don't know yet. We'll see. And that will be my Hellraiser design. So for those of you that really like the look of my Hellraiser fixed blade, I'm converting that over into a flipper. And that'll be Riot-made. So yeah, it will be more expensive than this, but I think it's going to be really, really exciting because I took a lot of chances with that one. I didn't do anything basic. I kind of shot for the moon with that one. So we'll see how the pricing turns out in the end. So anyway, on this one, 3.65-inch blade, in case I forgot to mention, S90V steel. Hand rub satin unless you get the frame lock jigged tie. The jigged tie, the entire knife is bead blasted. And that's it right there. So you got a lot of different choices. Pick your favorite flavor. Send a message to me. I'll get one right out to you. Otherwise, you can go over to Dave's website and pick one up directly from him, whichever way you're going to go. If it makes it easier to make that decision, if you want to use a credit card, you're going to want to go through Dave's website because it'll process credit cards. My website, unfortunately, is not quite ready yet. I was hoping that it might be, but it just isn't. You know, shit happens. We all have busy lives. So if you're going to order directly from me via some sort of messaging, I'll only be accepting PayPal. So that might be the difference for you. Anyway, that's it for me now, and I'm going to hop on out of here and get some more knives boxed up. Talk to you guys later. See you on the next video.